What if everything we thought we knew about the most important biblical discovery of the 20th century was wrong? What if the dates were off by decades, even centuries? What if an artificial intelligence could look at ancient handwriting and tell us things that human experts have debated for 70 years? In 2024, a revolutionary AI system called Enoch was unleashed on the Dead Sea Scrolls, and what it found is rewriting the timeline of biblical history. Tonight, we're going to explore how cutting-edge technology is transforming our understanding of the most sacred texts ever discovered. We'll see how machine learning algorithms can now date ancient manuscripts with unprecedented precision. And we'll discover why these findings are forcing scholars to reconsider everything they thought they knew about when the Bible was written. This is the story of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls. In 1947, a Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad ad-Daib was searching for a lost goat near the shores of the Dead Sea. He threw a stone into a cave and heard something shatter. What he found inside would become the greatest archaeological discovery of the modern era. Clay jars containing ancient scrolls, manuscripts written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, texts that had been hidden for 2,000 years. Over the next decade, 11 caves near the site of Qumran would yield nearly 1,000 manuscripts. Among them were copies of every book of the Hebrew Bible, except Esther, plus dozens of previously unknown texts. The Dead Sea Scrolls pushed our oldest biblical manuscripts back by over 1,000 years. They opened a window into Jewish life and thought during the time of Jesus. They sparked debates that continue to this day. But one question has always haunted scholars. Exactly how old are these scrolls? Dating ancient manuscripts is notoriously difficult. For decades, scholars relied on paleography, the study of ancient handwriting styles. By comparing letter forms to dated inscriptions, experts could estimate when a scroll was written. But paleography is imprecise. Different scribes wrote in different styles. Handwriting evolved gradually, not in neat chronological stages. Two experts examining the same scroll might disagree by a century or more. Radiocarbon dating offered another approach. By measuring the decay of carbon-14 in the parchment, scientists could estimate when the animal died, whose skin became the scroll. But radiocarbon dating has its own problems. It requires destroying a small piece of the precious artifact. It can only tell you when the parchment was made, not when the text was written. And until recently, its margin of error was often plus or minus 100 years. Scholars needed something better, something more precise, something that could analyze the text itself. They needed artificial intelligence. In the early 2020s, a team of researchers began developing something unprecedented, an artificial intelligence specifically designed to analyze ancient manuscripts. They named it Enoch, after the mysterious biblical figure who walked with God and was taken to heaven, where ancient tradition says he received divine knowledge of the cosmos and the calendar. The name was fitting. Like its namesake, the Enoch AI would reveal hidden knowledge about the ancient world. But building Enoch required solving problems no one had tackled before. Human handwriting is unique. Every person writes slightly differently, with distinctive curves, angles, spacing, and pressure patterns. Ancient scribes were no exception. Each scribe who copied the Dead Sea Scrolls left invisible fingerprints in their writing, patterns too subtle for the human eye to detect, but distinctive enough for a machine to identify. The Enoch team trained their AI on thousands of handwriting samples from dated inscriptions, coins, and documents from the ancient world. The system learned to recognize patterns that correlated with specific time periods. Letter forms that appeared in the 3rd century BCE looked subtly different from those in the 1st century CE. The way scribes formed certain characters evolved over time. The spacing between letters, the angle of strokes, the thickness of lines, all changed in measurable ways. Enoch learned to see these patterns, and it learned to date them. But the real breakthrough came when researchers combined Enoch's handwriting analysis with radiocarbon dating data. Each technique alone has significant uncertainty. Paleographic analysis might place a scroll somewhere in a 200-year window. Radiocarbon dating might give a range of plus or minus 50 years. But when you combine multiple independent methods, something powerful happens. The uncertainties don't add up, they cancel out. If handwriting analysis suggests a scroll was written between 150 BCE and 50 BCE, and radiocarbon dating places the parchment between 200 BCE and 100 BCE, the overlap narrows your window dramatically. Enoch was designed to integrate these different data streams. It could analyze handwriting patterns, incorporate radiocarbon results, consider archaeological context, and produce a unified date estimate with unprecedented precision. The results were stunning. The researchers started with one of the most famous Dead Sea Scrolls, the Great Isaiah Scroll. This magnificent document contains the complete text of the biblical book of Isaiah. At over 7 meters long, it's the largest and best preserved of all the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's also one of the most important because Isaiah contains messianic prophecies that both Jews and Christians consider sacred. For decades, scholars dated the Great Isaiah Scroll to around 125 BCE, based on paleographic analysis. This made it roughly a century older than the oldest previously known biblical manuscripts. But when Enoch analyzed the scroll, something unexpected emerged. The AI detected patterns in the handwriting that human experts had missed. The letter forms in the Great Isaiah Scroll showed characteristics more consistent with scribal practices from the late 3rd century BCE, not the early 2nd century. When this handwriting analysis was combined with recalibrated radiocarbon data, the picture became clearer. The Great Isaiah Scroll may have been written as early as 250 BCE, possibly even earlier. That's potentially a century older than the conventional date. This wasn't just a minor adjustment. This was a fundamental shift in our understanding of when biblical texts were being copied and circulated. The Great Isaiah Scroll wasn't alone. As the Enoch team analyzed more scrolls, a pattern emerged. Many manuscripts that scholars had dated to the 1st century BCE now appeared to be significantly older. The community rule, which describes the practices of the Qumran sect, showed handwriting characteristics from the late 3rd or early 2nd century BCE. Some of the Psalm scrolls appeared to date back even further. The Pesharim, commentaries on biblical prophets, also seemed older than previously thought. If these findings hold up, they suggest that the Qumran community, or communities like it, were active and producing texts much earlier than scholars believed. One of Enoch's most remarkable capabilities is identifying individual scribes. The AI can analyze subtle handwriting patterns and determine whether 2 different scrolls were written by the same person. This has revealed something surprising. Far fewer scribes produced the Dead Sea Scrolls than previously thought. Traditional estimates suggested that hundreds of different scribes contributed to the collection, but Enoch's analysis indicates the number may be much smaller, perhaps only a few dozen core scribes working over several generations. This changes our picture of the Qumran community. Rather than a large, diverse group producing texts independently, we may be looking at a small, tight-knit scribal school with consistent training and practices. Why does it matter if the scrolls are older than we thought? The answer goes to the heart of how we understand biblical history. If copies of Isaiah, Psalms, and other biblical books were circulating in the 3rd century BCE, it means these texts had already achieved a level of authority and stability much earlier than scholars assumed. The traditional view held that the Hebrew Bible was still being edited and finalized during the Hellenistic period, the centuries following Alexander the Great's conquests. Texts were supposedly fluid, with scribes freely making changes and additions. But if the Enoch dates are correct, it suggests that many biblical books were already fixed in something close to their final form by the late 3rd century BCE. The period of major editing and compilation was over. Scribes were copying, not creating. This pushes the formation of the Hebrew Bible back into the Persian period or even earlier, closer to the traditional dates that believers have always maintained. Dating scrolls is just the beginning of what AI can tell us. Machine learning algorithms are now being used to understand how ancient scribes actually worked, their training, their techniques, their relationship to the texts they copied, and the findings are overturning old assumptions. When Enoch analyzes a scroll, it doesn't just identify when it was written. It can also detect the skill level of the scribe. Less experienced scribes show greater variability in their letter forms. Their spacing is less consistent. Their lines waver more. Master scribes, by contrast, show remarkable consistency. Their letter forms are nearly identical throughout a document. Their spacing is precise. Their technique is polished. By mapping these patterns, researchers can now trace the training lineages of ancient scribes. They can identify teacher-student relationships by detecting when a young scribe's handwriting shows the influence of a particular master. This is opening a window into the social organization of ancient Jewish scribal communities that was previously invisible. One of the most contentious debates in biblical studies concerns scribal errors. When ancient scribes copied texts, did they make mistakes? Did they intentionally change things? How reliable is the transmission of the biblical text? AI is now providing quantitative answers to these questions. By comparing multiple copies of the same biblical book, machine learning algorithms can identify patterns in how scribes handled their source texts. The results are surprising. The Dead Sea Scrolls show far fewer intentional changes than many scholars assumed. Most variants are simple copying errors, skipped lines, repeated words, or misread letters. Where deliberate changes do appear, they tend to be minor clarifications or spelling updates, not theological revisions. This suggests the ancient scribes took their responsibility as preservers of sacred text very seriously. They saw themselves as transmitters, not editors. The Dead Sea Scrolls contain biblical texts in several different versions. Some scrolls match closely with the traditional Hebrew text, the Masoretic text that Jews have used for over 1,000 years. Others match the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible made in Alexandria. Still others represent previously unknown text types. AI analysis is now mapping these relationships with precision. Machine learning can identify which scrolls are most closely related, tracing family trees of manuscript traditions. This is revealing that biblical text transmission was more complex than either traditional or critical scholars assumed. Multiple versions coexisted for centuries before one became dominant. The 11 caves near Qumran didn't all contain the same types of texts. Some caves held primarily biblical books. Others contained sectarian documents unique to the Qumran community. Others had a mix. AI analysis is now helping scholars understand the organization of this ancient library. Enoch can identify which scrolls were written by the same scribes. This reveals that certain scribes specialized in particular types of texts. Some scribes copied only biblical books. Others focused on legal texts. Others produced liturgical scrolls. This suggests a division of labor within the scribal community, a system where different scribes had different roles and responsibilities. The Dead Sea Scrolls weren't produced in isolation. AI analysis is revealing connections between the Qumran texts and manuscripts from other sites in ancient Judea. Handwriting patterns from Qumran scrolls show up in fragments found at Masada, the mountaintop fortress where Jewish rebels made their last stand against Rome. Similar patterns appear in documents from the Judean desert caves, where refugees hid during later revolts. This suggests that the scribal tradition represented at Qumran was part of a broader network. Scribes trained at Qumran may have traveled to other communities. Texts produced at Qumran were copied and distributed throughout Jewish Palestine. The Dead Sea Scrolls weren't a private library. They were part of a living tradition. In Part 2, we'll explore what these revolutionary AI findings mean for biblical history. We'll discover how the Enoch system is reshaping our understanding of when the Bible was written, and why these discoveries matter for both scholars and believers today. Continue to Part 2 now to uncover the full implications of this groundbreaking